So we've all seen a massive drop off over at the UFC. Crazy decisions all around. Dana White being petulant, forcing people to choose their favourite Muslim fighters and all that. But trust Sean Strickland to keep things interesting. Trust him to ask the important questions. And of course to call out someone like Netflix for being gay and retarded. You gotta wonder who's making modern TV. Halo, The Witcher are all just sitting around a table asking yourselves, how do we burn money? Not a Star Trek fan, but the opening trailer is two fat dykes. How did this become America? And at this stage, we all know that the UFC is literally just staying afloat now because of these type of outside the octagon statements from people like Sean Strickland, Conor McGregor, Jorge Masvidal. Controversy on the outside of the octagon is the only thing that has any bit of interest within the UFC now. In fairness, like, who wants to actually spend their hard-earned money paying the UFC to watch some Muslim lad from the mountains lie down on top of someone? I'm grand, I'll pass. So I'm more than happy to have a little conversation in line with Sean Strickland and answer who exactly is behind the indoctrination of our youth through the means of Netflix or just mainstream media. We see this week that Netflix are trying to acquire Warner Brothers. 72 billion is on the line. If Netflix do actually acquire Warner Brothers, Trump even says that it would be a problem. I wonder what you would imagine that problem being. Do I need to say it? Absolutely not. Old Wolf says it over here on Twitter. Every recent movie on Netflix is like, gay guy is the voice of reason. Yes, correct. White man is the bad guy. Of course. Mom is the breadwinner. Children are sexualized. Black man is the hero. Woman has the balls. Dad is an idiot. Netflix is social engineering, not entertainment. 100% agreed. And do you actually think that this social engineering is an accident? Absolutely not. Netflix have had a bunch of controversies over the year. Some are prominent, some you have to go looking for. Is Netflix teen prostitution drama baby obscene or just risque? Director Diego Kaplan defends Netflix Desire from accusations of child pornography. Cool. Netflix show prompts thousands to delete their account. Of course, they're talking about that movie there, which I'm pretty sure we're not even allowed to say on this platform, but everybody knows exactly what that is, and it's vile. We've seen huge analysis and studies done across the board on Netflix kids shows showing that they are flooded with LGBTQ themes. Now, everybody who has a social media account has seen the videos of a very, very high proportion of children's TV shows produced and put out by Netflix that are just filled with depravity, filled with LGBTQ.ie propaganda, indoctrinating young malleable minds and coercing the young people into that LGBTQ mafia. It's absolutely vile and disgusting. But in fairness, when they do a true life story like the teenager jailed for life for Elaine Adams' murder, they do it with style because we get the race swap, the obligatory race swap, the TV show Adolescence. Pictured here, young white kid with the evil eye, and pictured here was the actual perpetrator of the crime. The only time a race swap will go in that direction is when they're trying to protect the black community. They're vile scumbags and they need to be called out. Let me take you on a little journey into the past here to find the root of why Netflix is a propaganda machine and where exactly it stems from. Sigmund Freud, as many might know, is the father of psychoanalysis. He claimed that he was molested by his siblings. Freud was a cocaine addict and a pedophile advocate who taught that children sexually lusted after their parents. Of course he did. A lot of people buy into that freakazoid, and when you do the research, it's pretty horrific. Freud's grandson, Sir Clement Freud, had been accused of molesting multiple young girls and was suspected in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Freud's sister claimed that she was regularly abused by her perverted father, and she gave birth to Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays. He took the family's work in psychology and used it to help the governments and corporations manipulate the minds of the public. Hired by an American tobacco company, Bernays manipulated women into buying more cigarettes by convincing them smoking was a feminist liberation. Thanks to Bernays and his twisted family legacy, social engineering became big business. Modern psychology was used to explain exploit mankind's mental weakness, nurture the public's lower desires, and turn people into mindless consumers. And here's where the rubber meets the road in terms of this little backstory. Edward Bernays' great nephew is a lad called Mark Bernays Randolph, and he is the co-founder and original CEO of Netflix. Does anybody think that this is a coincidence? Netflix has not only replaced network television as the premier home of pop culture, it also is continuing to denigrate the depraved social engineering of Bernays and Freud's legacy. 13 Reasons Why. The Netflix show was accused of romanticizing suicide during a recent increase in teenage suicide. What about The First Temptation of Christ? Jesus Christ is depicted as a homosexual. A Texas grand jury indicted Netflix for depicting child sex in the movie. So when the former UFC champion of the world Sean Strickland says over any social media, do you ever wonder why our TV is so morally corrupt? Who is producing this? Who thinks that this makes money? Who thinks that it's a good idea? Well, we have a little backstory there to answer Sean Strickland's question, and it's very interesting.